Within this journey of faking it, also known as life, things change, sometimes drastically. They can change from moment to moment, and even more so when you stop for a second and look back. You look back at your life and what it was like just 6 months ago, or look back at a body of work, like a podcast you started on a whim just because you thought you could. And when you look back at that body of work, you go back to the very beginning. The first podcast you recorded with your mom as your guest. Bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, she regaled her triumphs with mental health and her physical health. And it was a celebratory thing. Looking back now, only a few years, things have changed a lot. My mom has had a few major health setbacks, all of which have been nothing short of terrifying for her and for us as her family. One night in late October, she thought she was fighting the flu. And when her symptoms became worse, my father luckily took her to the hospital, a choice that decided her fate. What came next was an extremely risky emergent surgery that led to 2 other surgeries and landed her in the ICU in an induced coma for a week. Easily the longest week of our lives. The hours slinked by, and now looking back, it feels like 6 nightmares rolled into one. And in some ways, that hasn't totally ended. In all of this, I speak as an outsider to what was actually happening in my mom's body and in her mind. She speaks of this time in an induced coma as confusing and frustrating. And I keep going back to that, thinking about all of that anguish we felt for her, watching her thrash, not knowing how she really felt and what she would say. The surgeon said numerous times that she knew Mom had something not everyone she treated had. And that was grit. In all honesty, this is something I've only recently become comfortable talking about more publicly. Before now, it has just been the topic of conversation amongst my husband and I when I couldn't sleep or when I stared off into space dwelling on all the bad things that could have happened, but luckily didn't. It's been a really devastating reality, what has transpired in the past few months. So much so that I feel what I can only describe it as is trauma. However, with all of that being said, and with all of the messy trials that followed Mom's initial stay in the hospital and the complications that come with things like these, she's alive. She's thriving. She has grit. Now, there is something of a thematic sentiment to this all, I guess, a purpose to me sharing this. And through this extreme illness and sitting by and watching family in utter turmoil, I learned to keep going, to keep asking questions, to drink water and feed myself, and try to keep things together as possible. One of the ICU nurses took my dad and I aside one night and said, "Shit still needs to get done. You're doing good by being here with her and speaking with her and holding her hand and letting her know you're here, but laundry still has to be done. And you have to rest and nourish yourselves so when she wakes up, you guys are ready for her and not falling apart." This was not an easy feat. This was digging down and fighting and feeling like I just wanted to wrap myself up into a duvet burrito and pretend the world wasn't there anymore. But somehow we resisted together. So looking back, as Faking It takes on another journey, another turn in the road, which is being a part of the Evoke Media Podcast Network, we celebrate where we've come, that we are still chugging along, creating and embracing what life throws our way, because we have to roll with it. Oh, and a lot of people commented on the first episode that they wish they could have heard my mom play her guitar and sing like she talked about finding solace in the first episode. So, as some of you wished, and as the rest of you are really lucky to hear, here's my mom playing while she recovered in the hospital after one of her many surgeries. She's kick-ass and I love her so much. This body of work, Mom, past, present, and future. It's all dedicated to you.
Anyway, that was my story. I don't think I can sing this.
You can.
He had white horses and ladies by the score, all dressed in satin and waiting by feathers made up his bed, and a gold-covered mattress on which he was led. Ooh, what a lucky man he was. Ooh, what a lucky man he was. A bullet had found him. His blood ran as he cried. No money could save him, so he lay down and he died. Ooh, what a lucky man he was. Ooh, what a lucky man he was. What a lucky man he was.
Good.
Wow, I can't believe I have some of my voice back.
You do.
This has been an Evoke Media podcast.